Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome to the MMA Freakcast. I am Edson Valenzuela, and I'm joined here with
Matthew Salzer.
And we're back. We've took a break over the holidays and whatnot.
Yes, we took a very long break because of just various stuff. It was the
holidays,
yeah,
though, right?
Was,
That's the reward at the end of the year.
Yes, it was the holidays. We took some time off,
and I think we still had content going on the site, anyhow.
Yeah, I did my top 10 lists for Christmas and.
Oh yeah, thank you very much.
Yes, those were
Mr. Fetter.
Yes, those were fun.
Chris Fetter, shout out at Chris Fetter, some combination thereof, or find him on
MMAFreak.com. Let's talk about the MMA Freak Awards.
We're gonna head into Risen, and we're gonna head into UFC. Sort of go over the stuff that we missed, at least from New Year's on. And but first, we'll go over some of Matt's award stuff. Let's do it.
Yeah. So the MMA Freak Awards, the first category was the Hall of Fame, which we did back in December. This is now we are now going to other categories. So the first award that we did for 2015 that was applicable was the top articles. The top 10 articles.
And these are in-house articles.
Yes.
So these are articles that we at MMAFreak.com have made for you all.
Yes,
on review. Audience.
Yes, and that those of us who the vote is from the writers, and we did this based on who we thought was the.
It's like our own little personal academy almost, right? Within one another, we sort of give this rank. It's sort of this ranking process of where we think certain articles, including our own, might land.
Yes.
And we crunch the numbers, and out comes the finished top 10. So, Matt, without further ado.
Without further ado, the top 10 articles. Clear my throat. So at number 10 came my Veterans Day list that I did for
Matthew Salzer
for Veterans Day. Number 9 was. Excuse me. Number 9 was the top 10 list just in general for
the 2015, the year of 2015.
Yes, for just the year of 2015. Then coming in at number 8.
And number 8,
our very own
number 8.
Yeah, sorry,
you're all right, bud.
Yes, I'm having issues.
No, you're all right.
So at number 8 was the relaunch of the podcast, which as I mentioned here, is the brainchild of my co-host here. So
of the both of us, don't be.
Yeah, well, you were the one who kind of brought it on, and together we made it happen. But it was your idea to relaunch it, so I think you deserve some credit there.
Thanks.
Okay, so, and then number 7 is it was Chris Fetter. He was another newbie on the site this year. He was recruited by Gabe Keith. His interview with Tom Lawler. Then number 6 was
shout out to Fetter and founder Gabe Keith.
Yes, and number 6 was the interview of Tom Heffernan's interview of Campbell McLaurin, who was one of the UFC co-founders.
A quick sort of mention of who exactly Tom Heffernan is. Tom Heffernan is a writer based out of Scotland.
Yes.
So across the Atlantic, and he develops content for MMA Freak on a regular basis. He's an outstanding writer. He does excellent work. He's had multiple exclusives on our behalf.
And he was the winner of the Article of the Year last year, as a matter of fact.
Yes,
his UFC Scotland, his UFC Comes to Scotland article is still the most viewed article on the site at, oh my gosh, at 10,000 views. That is impressive.
By the modest standards of our beautiful website.
Yes, of our beautiful website. So, he's put forth a lot, and
we appreciate it.
Yeah, he's very much
veteran of the site, right?
Yes.
At this point,
yes,
sure.
Veteran of the site. Yes. So that was not number 6. Then number 5 is another Hef
joint.
Yeah, it's another Hef article. The performance enhancing but career diminishing goes out of PEDs, and he wrote this in light of UFC 183 and the fallout there when both Anderson Silva and Nick Diaz tested positive for
big moment.
Yeah. Where they both tested positive for let's just say undesirable stuff. And then at number 5, our very own Edson.
And number 4, I think.
And number 4. Yes, number 4 is Edson's Today in MMA History series, where he talked about specific events on the date of the publication, and he had some good ones there.
Yeah. I like to hope so.
Yeah, you covered the UFC 1 on November 12th. You covered which Pride event?
That there looks like it was oh gosh, I know that one. That was a Final Conflict Absolute.
It's on September 10th. Then
the Openweight Grand Prix.
Yes. Then you also did
June 28, 2006 was Silva's win over Lieben at the Hard Rock.
Yes, and then May 16th was
96. This is one
Pancrase.
That's the oldest one, I think. Oh, aside from the latest UFC one.
Actually, you've done quite a few before.
I mean, the furthest back I've gone in history, besides the latest.
Oh yeah,
UFC
yeah.
one.
This was the Pancrase with between
Frank Shamrock and Boss Rutten.
Frank Shamrock and Boss Rutten, and
yes.
You posted that GIF where Boss is doing his jump splits.
Highly recommend all of any of the posts by any of our authors at our site.
Yes, that was a very entertaining article. Then for UFC 31 on May 4th, you did that one, which was one of 2 battles between Randy Couture and Pedro Hinzo.
Yeah, sort of a changing of the guard to some degree, where it was made apparent that a well-rounded grappler who had some boxing skills and could sort of employ both, maybe even simultaneously like he did, would find some success.
Yes, and then you did. Then April 25th was Pride Total Elimination 2004.
This was the
April 25th. Yeah.
Oh goodness, this one I'm having a hard time remembering.
The Heavyweight Grand Prix.
Yeah, that's the one that Mark Coleman won. No. This was
Fedor's one.
Yes. Sorry. And
then UFC 59 for April 15th.
Here in Anaheim.
And that was that was the one between Andrei Arlovsky and Tim Sylvia. That
was the second one.
Yes, back when basically
one.
Those two were all the UFC heavyweight division had to offer.
That was about as thin, I think, as the UFC's heavyweight division ever found itself.
Yeah, because it was.
That's and by the way, not to diminish either Sylvia or Arlovsky. Both of them great heavyweights in my opinion. I think Sylvia's gotten a bad rap, but both of them great heavyweights in my opinion. And
you think he's got a bad rap because of his latter career?
Oh, no, that's not even.
Well, he did puff up.
People. No. I will say that during his career, he was met with a significant amount of undue criticism.
Well, I don't think his testing positive for steroids helped, especially when he admit to it.
Understood. But I mean, does that make you better when you do it and don't admit to it?
Okay. Then your very first one was April 8th, which was Pride 34.
Yeah, that was the last Pride show, so I found it fitting maybe to have it be the first of these articles, and kind of a lackluster show, in fact. So it was kind of not the best article to start with.
Yeah. Well, if we take a look at it, it's still got 1,600
people
views.
Love taking a peek back, people like I hope to pedal in taking nostalgia,
which is
all I'm good for.
Which is why I would suggest that you you get back to it because you kind of
indeed, no, absolutely,
kind of taking a hiatus, but that's understandable with the holidays and whatnot happening. Okay, back to the awards. Number 3 was my very own Your Brothers. This was his debut article.
Yes, a contribution late in the year, and one that sort of had been alluded to a couple of times by Matt. His brother is based out of Japan. He's a writer, just as we attempt to be, and
you could consider him our Japanese correspondent, just like Hef is our European correspondent.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of considering that MMA is rising back in Japan. Rising, get it?
Very nice.
Consider it's getting back up there in Japan, and that it's also pretty much a growing sport in Europe as well, especially with the popularity of guys like Conor McGregor.
It's definitely still expanding. As much mainstream success as we have become accustomed to here in the U.S., the UFC as a brand is still expanding globally.
Yes, so so I think it's appropriate. But anyways, this was written in light of Ronda Rousey's UFC 193 loss.
And it was an excellent piece too, a nice meaty one that you could sink your teeth in.
Yeah, it talks specifically about the whole backlash there because, she lost and everyone just came down on her like an avalanche.
I found that article immensely entertaining to read, in that it was addressing a very specific thing for me, which was that I personally, and maybe it speaks to how much of a moron I am, or I had no clue that there was this much pent up resentment toward Rousey that was just ready to be vented right into the universe.
I honestly was just not surprised. He just put to words what I kind of already knew. But people were kind of, just didn't want to address because she was, she just had such a high string of popularity. Everyone was just like, oh, she's the greatest in the world, blah, blah, blah. And then she loses. And then to me, it's just like, well, everyone's now saying what they wanted to say. To me, it was just obvious. This is, because.
And anybody who's perfect, there are going to be scores of individuals who are ready to.
Well, yeah, and
perfect professionionally, let's say.
Yes, but honestly, I just when this happened,
you couldn't wait to see.
Well, I think some of the things were unnecessary. I think some people,
but you're always going to get that sort of immaturity online because that's what the internet is. It's a black hole of nothingness sometimes.
Yeah, but yeah, I was not surprised at that there was backlash.
And in a lot of ways,
and because having I watched her first televised card on what's it called on Showtime way back when. I just happened to be in a hotel. I just happened to be in a hotel it was that show MMA series, that Rising Star series at Showtime.
I remember that though. I didn't follow it.
I watched. I didn't watch it on a regular basis either, but I just happened to be on vacation at the time. I just happened to be in this hotel.
Say channel surfing, maybe.
Well, I already knew that this was going to happen, so I was just in there and I was thinking, oh, yeah, I got Showtime. Well, it just worked out to where I got to see her first fight card, and then I just saw her throw out that submission. But then I just kept following her because I was honestly thinking, because there was the longest time when people were saying there's going to be a collision course between her and Cyborg because at the time she was at featherweight. I was thinking this is going to happen, which ultimately didn't for the longest time because she dropped down to bantamweight and Cyborg got busted for steroids and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Their careers have taken different paths. Cyborg, I think, has Tito Ortiz's sort of management, and he's sort of at odds with in the perpetual state of being sort of at odds with Dana White.
My understanding is he's actually taking a back seat to the management because he's
good because he was not good at it. I don't think.
Well, yeah,
he did not help.
And he also realized she's not going to get anywhere with UFC negotiations if I'm there. And I think I'm glad he had enough self-awareness to realize that.
That's good.
I think she still works out at Team Punishment though. But
fair.
yeah. But anyway, so But yes, but I've steadily watched her progression because my thought when I first saw her was this is someone to look out for. So I've steadily watched her progression, and honestly, watching her over the years, it doesn't really surprise me that there'd all of a sudden be that much backlash because she's stepped on more than a few toes
on her way up.
Yeah, on her way up. She's just I've just seen it, and yeah, she has a tendency to smack talk. She has a tendency to, and she's had some bad sportsmanship moments. Like
so,
especially after the Ultimate Fighter with Misha Tate, and John actually talked about that.
That was a classless moment. Yeah,
he's got that gift going where Misha offered the hand, and she scoffed and walked away.
Guffawed, perhaps even.
Yeah. She scoffed and walked away. It's like you're not worthy to shake hands with.
It's evident. It's evident, and I think fair as well that and normal really that in combat sports an audience receives a certain amount of catharsis.
I also don't
joy.
I also don't think it helped either when as uncharacteristically she'd already she dealt with a number of
Ronda Rousey.
She dealt with a number of women who already had that demeanor similar to Holly Holm, where they're calm, collected. A classic example I'm going to point out is Sarah McMahon.
Quiet, reserved, maybe
reserved.
Boring. Some might say media, as far as maybe media related.
I'd argue they have similar personalities, and Ronda was respectful to her. Kat Zingano, you could see that there was a little bit of intensity there, but there was still a mutual respect. Yep. So there was, but still, there wasn't a lot of, there wasn't a whole lot of smack talking going. But then when Ronda went up against Bet Correa, that was,
vicious.
Yeah, that was vicious. Correa was trying to incite something out of her. She'd seen how, in a lot of ways, she'd seen how Misha in more of a playful way had incited things, but it looks like to me that Misha knew exactly how to poke, how to press Ronda's buttons, whereas Correa was like trying to smash through, but
Well, they took two different approaches towards trying to get to the same end, which was to piss her off. And I will say that you could say that some of the sort of amped up aggression that was the media circus surrounding the Correa fight sort of spilled over to her attitude with Holm, leading into the press stuff for that fight, and you saw her be extra aggressive. So that like you were saying, fanned the fires even further. So
and I don't think with that fight in particular, I don't think it helped that Ronda was saying well, I could kind of understand her saying, I'm going to beat her at her own game. But then when she didn't touch gloves, didn't do stuff, basic stuff like, when she got in her face to the point that Holly got uncomfortable, pushed her away, and then she starts smack talking, calls her fake. And it's just like, to me, it's just like, this could backfire on her very much. And my thought was, that's uncharacteristic of Ronda. That just is uncharacteristic of her to be the emotional one.
I'm curious as to how fans of hers interpreted everything leading up to that. I haven't really spoken to somebody who's really enthusiastic about her, and I wonder that because I saw it from an outsider's perspective. I've never really had an emotional or fandom tie to, and it happens more and more to her, let's say, and seeing all those things happen, I felt like were things that tend to happen leading up to sort of big fights. And so after, when I'm able to look back and now I hear people talk about how it was sort of all this sort of unprovoked, strange behavior by a champion to be so aggressive, I wondered, why was it that she was I mean, me personally, my armchair psychology is that she was maybe a little more intimidated than she expected to be, or caught off guard in an emotional way more than she expected to be by just maybe Holmes' demeanor when sort of being around her, or in knowing maybe what she was up against, or wrapping her head around exactly what she was going up against this time.
It's possible that one thing as well. Dana White said that Ronda confided in him that before that fight she was like tired because of all the media commitments and stuff like that. She was mentally tired, and I'm wondering if maybe she was trying to make up for that by and also trying to get under Holly's skin by
amping herself up while at the same time trying to get herself a psychological edge.
Yes, which clearly didn't happen, because even though she went into that match with that same icy glare stare from the time that the bell rang, and it just happened, and it's just you looked at it, and then you realize as Holly's starting to pile on the punches, that intense stare of confidence started to go to one of worry, like, how am I supposed to? I think she started to realize I'm outclassed here. She started to realize I'm in trouble.
Yeah, well, definitely in the middle of the fight, she might have started to realize. So, yeah, amazing article, right?
Yep. Okay, so going on from that to number 2 was our interview with it's yours, but I helped out the interview with Sam. No, this wasn't me at all. Your interview with Sam Alvey. I'm thinking about the Yoder one. The very hot Ashley Yoder.
I mean, in my personal opinion, I thought I preferred the Yoder interview, but I guess Alvey, he was the name dude. He was the currently signed to USC dude, so that was fun.
I hope she gets somewhere. I hope she gets somewhere in either Invicta or Bellator
That'd be neat.
Or UFC or something like that. And then number 1 was Chris Fetter again. Chris Fetter's article on Rusmar Paul Harris.
Another controversy from last year.
See,
break down the events there first. The Rousimar Polaris controversy.
Okay, so Rousimar Paul Harris, of course, was known for holding submissions way too long in the UFC when he would win, and
sort of jerky behavior.
Yeah, and finally, Dana White had enough of it and just said, you're done. So then what happened from there was that he got picked up by World Series of Fighting. And right off the bat, he gets a title shot because he's coming in on a win. So, he also had some questionable calls there. That first fight where he won the title, there was a
the first fight where Polaris won the
I forget which referee was doing it, but the referee literally tore him off.
Had to physically yank the Polaris off.
Oh, but he did it like right as he called the fight, and simultaneously he tore him off just to make sure he didn't hold it.
Oh, but so then, almost as though either he had already had prior experience or had been told before the fight, hey, if you're going to call it and you see the Polaris has a submission in, go ahead and just yank him off of it.
Yeah, well, Paul Harris did another.
This guy's a jerk.
If I recall, I think it was Paul Harris had another fight with, I'd like to say John Fitch. And this was also in World Series of Fighting. Yeah, it was John Fitch. And it was a knee bar, and he held it too long, and John Fitch, I think, actually was out for a little bit.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
But then, in August, he fought Jake Shields. Not only did he hold the Kimura too long against Jake Shields, but he was Shields was accusing him of eye gouging the whole fight, and it got to the point where World Series of Fighting suspended him and stripped him of the title. Yeah. And then he went before a hearing before I forget which commission, but he went before it was in Vegas. He went before a hearing.
Nevada State Athletic Commission.
Yeah, he went through a hearing in the Nevada.
Is that accurate?
Yeah, to the Nevada State Athletic Commission. I forget what exactly the penalty was, but he actually did face a penalty.
So sort of universally condemned for his behavior,
Yeah.
and really in a way, it was sort of he had built up credit, right? They sort of paid him back for this career of infractions and crappy behavior.
Yeah,
by a
and
person.
so yeah, he's paying for that. Whereas he's sitting out right now. The officials with World Series of Fighting have told him get him to see a psychiatrist, get him to get him straight.
That's wonderful. That's good.
They've told him get him straight. This can't go on.
Yeah.
He can't be trusted.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's this is everybody's job, and everyone is out there to make money. I mean, some people might misguidedly view these individuals as gluttons for punishment. That's not exactly true. These are people that are trying to make money and make a living for their family and themselves, and Polaris seems to think that these are street fights that are occurring inside of there. So that's not acceptable behavior. That's kind of psychopathic behavior. I don't know how to describe it, and not cool on his behalf.
Yeah. So okay. So that was.
Thanks for that, Matt. Man.
Yeah. So that was the top 10 articles. So then the next category is the top 10 upsets.
So ranking the 10 standout upsets of last year in countdown order.
Yes. So the first one was Luke Rockhold upsetting Yota Machida.
That was a good one to watch because that was an absolute, complete, and total destruction.
Yeah, I was not expecting that.
That led me to choose Rockhold over Weidman. Correctly, in fact.
And you picked correctly. So then the next one, I'm gonna go over these quickly.
Yeah, no, it's all right.
Patrick Cummings over.
These are fun to talk about. It's like a wrap up of last year.
Rafael Cavalcante.
I missed this one. Tell me about it.
Okay, so Cavalcante is a longtime veteran of the game.
Not Jay-Z. That's Jesus. Go ahead.
Jay-Z's lightweight.
Yeah.
This is light heavyweight. So
right.
Cavalcante, he's a longtime veteran of the game. Patrick Cummins, as we know, doesn't have as much experience in the game. So he went in there and TKO'd Cavalcante.
Man.
Yeah, so. And then number 8 was Joanna Jędrzejczyk's upset of Carla Esparza, the brutal. I've just and Joanna's been on a roll since then. I mean, all of her fights. Against Jessica Penne, she was a massacre. I mean, she just made Jessica Penne look from.
I must ask, would that have been really? Should that really be considered that much?
Well, to see a former champion just massacred so badly.
But she was tough. She was the Ultimate Fighter alum, which has always sort of had inconsistent results with who it is that wins those tournaments.
Yeah, but remember, that Ultimate Fighter had the best strawweights in the world for the most part.
All right.
I mean, it was specifically meant to build the strawweight division for the UFC.
All right.
So they're already the best in there.
All right.
So
the competition she met, the competition as far as
she was already
serious competition.
Yeah, she was already ranked number 1 in the world going into the Ultimate Fighter, and she was ranked number 1 in the world going into this fight. And then Joanna Jędrzejczyk just goes in there and makes her look like she doesn't even deserve to be in the same octagon. And it was just brutal. Bless you.
Thank you.
So
that was
It was hard to watch. And my understanding is Carla actually dislocated her shoulder in that fight, which is why she hasn't fought since then. And Penne broke her nose in the next fight, which is why she hasn't fought. It's like Jędrzejczyk's.
Oh my goodness!
It's like Jędrzejczyk's left is just path of destruction in both capturing the title and retaining the title.
She's making doctors rich as well.
Yeah, Valerie Letourneau was the first one, I think, not to just get destroyed. They went 5 rounds.
Wow, that's testing Joanna.
But that's partially because Valerie she actually tried out for season 18 as a bantamweight. So she cut down 2 weight classes. And I could argue that Joanna could also be a decent sized bantamweight as well. So these are 2 women who are arguably up 2 weight classes, and they're here at strawweight just destroying like nobody's business.
Between this and what will later be ranked number 1 on this, the obvious number 1, I think, on this list, I'd say that it was
a year for the
women. It was a very cool year. I mean, for MMA, it was a very strong second half of the year, and yeah, it was definitely a year for the women. Absolutely. I was also wanted to mention one last thing, which if we had a category that was close to, and I'll suggest this maybe for next year, is individual categories in which maybe we have 1 and then 2, let's say, like 1 and runner-up, let's say, for things here and there. If we had maybe a category, something along the lines of breakout star of 2015, Conor McGregor would have definitely won, but I think Joanna Jędrzejczyk would have maybe been the
Jędrzejczyk. You blurred that because you don't know how to pronounce that.
Like you don't.
Well, yeah,
gibberish over some of the Latino sounding ones.
Well, I didn't know how to pronounce it either. I now know how to
give it to me one more time.
Jędrzejczyk.
Jędrzejczyk?
Yes, she is Polish. She is Polish.
So yes, I'd say she would be the easy runner-up in that category. Conor McGregor's obviously made such a huge impression in the sport in just the year. He's been around for a little longer, but in this last year he was the overall winner of the year, let's say.
Yes.
And Joanna's the underappreciated champion right now. She, I think, is, besides her and Dillashaw, is probably the only lesser-known champion in the UFC right now.
I'd argue Mighty Mouse might.
Really? He won so many pound-for-pound lists last year that he's got to have his name out there now.
Well, yeah, you'd think so, but my understanding is he's also
that nickname is so fun to say.
Mighty Mouse?
Yes. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. So, but my understanding is he's a little bit more appreciated that his paydays are probably a lot lesser than most champions.
That would reflect in one of the pluses of starting and helping with MMA, starting to help with MMA Freak.com has been sort of immersing myself in, mixed martial arts and sort of starting to grow my knowledge in based off of what is happening right now in the sport. And I don't know where I was going with this point anymore.
Okay. Well, why don't we just move on?
Got it.
Because we talked about Joanna and Carl. Oh, of note, I'm gonna bring this up since we're talking about Joanna. My understanding is that she and I think Claudia Gadelha are going to be the coaches for the next Ultimate Fighter. Which I've been saying this for a while. I think women should be featured on the Ultimate Fighter more because that brings views. So I think I'm glad to hear that this is probably going to happen. This is going to be the build up to her next title fight.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome, but let me very quickly go over what I remember now.
Okay.
The point that I was eventually going to get to was that when I started doing this, I had more limited knowledge on the smaller divisions. I had mentioned to you that anything that had been added on sort of after it was only 155 and up with no girls.
Yeah.
That was sort of around when they added any division after that was when I started to have less sort of intense fandom of the sport. Let's say, right? When they merged WEC,
when they introduced the flyweights, and then when
as a fan, I was almost literally overwhelmed, and at that point, the market had become to sort of be oversaturated, even more so than it is now. I think we seem to
starting to get a little bit of a balance,
or maybe it'll be this treadmill that speeds up and slows down from time to time. But
that might be the case.
I'll say if I wasn't the only person that stepped away from the sport, then Mighty Mouse is not cashing out as much as he should be right now would be indicative of that. I think there's just not. I'm talking into the wind here a little bit. There's just not that much, right? There hasn't been that much. There haven't been high expectations for smaller weight divisions. McGregor might have changed that, I hope.
Yeah, partially. So, okay, so
we were there.
I could probably talk a little bit more about,
please,
Joanna. Another thing about this upcoming season of The Ultimate Fighter is they tried out. Typically, this isn't uncommon. They'll try out 3 different weight classes and then pick 2. So they tried out women's bantamweights, women's strawweights, and men's light heavyweights. My understanding was the turnout for women's bantamweights was actually a little disappointing. So so that's partially why they have stuff like that for them. That's partially why they have multiple weight classes, so that if there's a disappointing turnout for one, they could plop in the other 2. So my understanding is this season's probably going to be men's light heavyweights and women's strawweight. So basically another season. It's going to be season 18, except it's going to be Joanna and Claudia coaching.
I'm sorry. So you're saying it's going to be? Have they done that? Have they done it before?
Yes, they have done co-ed seasons before. One co-ed season before, and surprisingly, there wasn't as much drama in the house as I thought there was going to be.
Yeah.
I was expecting there was going to be fighters sleeping with each other and whatnot, and there was not, surprisingly. And then
yeah, I'd say that would about be my list as well.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting, and it just things. But there
was indeed. There
was drama in the house, and then that was the first season, surprisingly, where not only did one guy not make weight, 2 guys missed weight, and it was one guy from both teams. It was one guy per team, and it's just like, what's going on here? And yeah,
not fun. Not fun.
It's not fun when it's funny because I forget which when back when season 9 someone missed weight. Dana White was talking in one of those talking head interviews. Dana White's talking about that. It's like this is season 9, mother season 9.
That's funny. You should know by now.
Yeah. Okay. So we've been dwelling on number 8 for a while. So, okay,
but
back to the upset.
Joanne, like we mentioned, Joanna's one of the underappreciated UFC champions.
Which is probably why this particular upset was so low on the list. But anyways,
no.
So number 7.
It was a year cool. It was a year of a lot of very cool upsets and a lot of very notable ones. Go on.
So number 7, Anthony Johnson versus Alexander Gustafsson at UFC on Fox 14. This was an absolute destruction. This was literally almost a year ago.
That was absolute destruction.
It was. I think it was more. Well, not only was Gustafsson the odds-on favorite, but it was surprising to see Johnson go in there and just massacre him like that. Because Gustafsson went 5 rounds with. Not just John Jones, but Daniel Cormier.
Yeah.
And
Johnson, though, is that he is.
And both Cormier beat Johnson.
Johnson's incredibly efficient in short spurts, right? That's what I think what he has shown. He is incredibly efficient and a strong starter, right?
Yes. So and
Gustafsson was definitely looking. He definitely looked. I mean, overmatched, right? Overmatched.
Yeah, overmatched in that fight.
It was incredible.
Then number 6, this should not be surprising. Fabricio Werdum's upset of Cain Velasquez at UFC 188.
Well, Cain shot himself in the foot in that one a little bit,
I'm going to attribute this partially.
We're not making excuses either, right?
No, we're not.
Okay.
I can attribute this to 2 things. One of which is ring rust. One of which is the fact that that Velasquez didn't spend as much time training at altitude as
that is a choice. That is a choice that his camp made or that he made.
Because he just went in there, he looked gassed.
And this is something that has occurred in combat sports since forever.
Yeah.
The fighter B, who is the contender, taking advantage of setting up camp at a high altitude location where the fight might take place, and then upsetting the champion. That happened as far back as Rahman defeating Lennox Lewis, let's say.
Yeah, speaking of which, a trend nowadays, a lot of fighters have camps or have facilities set up in and these are of California fighters in particular.
Oh, Tito was famous for this, I think.
Yeah, have stuff
in Big Bear for altitude.
Yeah, Big Bear. Team Punishment. Back when Joe Stevenson was here, I think he also went there. Holly Holm went, or no, not Holly Holm. Ronda Rousey went there. Holly Holm's in. I think she has an advantage because I guess Albuquerque's a little bit up at altitude as well.
All right.
So
maybe that's why the Jackson folk in general, you know.
Yeah. Ronda Rousey went up to Big Bear once. Rampage when he was under Juanito Ibarra. All three of the Juanito guys, him, Czech Congo, and Bisbing, they all went up there and did a camp up there once. So
as far as the Verdum Velasquez fight, you know, Verdum also looked excellent. He was smart about training going in.
Yeah, I think he spent a month there.
Yeah,
my understanding is he trained there for a month.
That's the pro move. That's the professional veteran move.
Whereas Kane only spent 2 weeks.
Gondola rides. I heard gondola rides as well were included in the 2 weeks that he spent there. So maybe not the smartest time to be doing that.
Yeah. So
whatever. Well, that fight's gonna be awesome. That fight's forthcoming. So we'll talk about that as it comes.
Yeah, there's that rematch coming on.
So that was number 6.
Then number 5 was Conor McGregor's upset of Chad Mendes because he was the upset. Mendes was the favorite going in.
Mendes was the favorite, right? The ex-champion and ex-champion, ex-champion. Never.
No.
Wah, wah.
Nope. He never won.
I cannot wait to add sound effects to our podcast.
He challenged Warren a few times, but he did not. He did not.
Yikes. Sorry, so that. Anyhow, yes, Chad, a veteran of the sport. Actually,
I would argue, was McGregor's greatest challenge because he was one thing.
McGregor I think up until that point, most definitely, yes.
And he was that one guy that McGregor had never faced. He was a solid wrestler who took Conor
great
down.
Great foil.
Yeah, who took Conor down and dealt him some ground and pound. And McGregor was able, but to give him credit, he was able to get up off his feet, and that's partially why, get back onto his feet, and that's why he was able to eventually get on his feet and throw that combination that eventually finished Mendes. But I'd argue that maybe he was more of a challenge than even Jose Aldo.
Well, I mean, you can make the argument now, you know? Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if it'd been a long,
I think the fight was definitely a more challenging fight for him than that Aldo fight.
Yeah,
that is a fact.
Yeah, because I'd argue maybe if Aldo McGregor was like this long, grueling war.
Well, it doesn't matter. Yeah,
maybe it would have been more challenging, but it was
the past is a past. What happened was what happened. Mendes did not get caught with a punch for whatever reason. That could have been a luck thing. That could have been a circumstantial thing. It could have been a fight style thing. But that is what happened.
Though he was caught with a punch when he went up against Frank Yeager.
Oh, most definitely.
The weird thing about that knockout wasn't a typical knockout. He did not catch it on the jaw. He did not catch it on the noggin. He didn't catch it. He didn't catch it on the front. He didn't catch it in the temple. He caught it in the nose.
Oh yes.
He got hit in the nose, and that's what caused him to go down.
I was going to say that is one of those knockouts, or I would say, and I could think of one other one. Maybe 2 other ones, where it seems almost as though the sheer shock and or pain of having had your face shattered by such a strong punch to the nose sort of knocks you on your butt. The only other time I could remember a knockout that's similar to this, if you go back, it's a really old knockout. Pedro Hizzo's knockout of Andrei Arlovsky. He very clearly breaks his nose with the punch that he landed, but it wasn't. Right, it didn't look like a concussion necessarily. It didn't look like he was stunned and his arms were up and he was, frozen. He fell and immediately was sort of reaching for his face, and he was lucid but done for. Right, so I think what you're describing is similar to that. Right.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see, where am I going with this? Okay.
It's that was number 5, I think.
That was number 5. Then
upsets.
Number 4.
These are the upsets of 2015.
Number 4 is the one that you alluded to when we first started the list was Rockhold versus Weidman.
Rockhold versus Weidman.
Yeah.
Yes. This one, the reason that I alluded to it earlier was because we, during that was one. I think the first that was. I think we occasionally forget or might not do a podcast before a major event, and that one we were able to in a timely fashion be able to pull off our predictions. Let's say, so that was fun to do, and
you predicted Rockhold,
which it's correct. A coin flip, but it was most definitely impressive. I will say that I did think that he would be able to control things in the grappling department, as he eventually sort of ended up doing, but really it was a battle of attrition, because that was a war, and it was a fun one to watch between middleweights. Totally a fun one to watch.
Yes, that was definitely a fun one to watch between. It was one of those good fights. It was one of those good fights, one of those classics.
Yes, and yes, I think hopefully not soon forgotten. Not soon forgotten.
Yeah. Okay. Then number 3 was Rafael dos Anjos upset of Anthony Pettis. And I mentioned this in the article. He almost used Clay Guida's game, because when Pettis first came to the UFC straight from WEC, he as the WEC champion, he had the option of getting a title shot right off the bat, but he wanted to fight because I forget who the lightweight champion was at the time. Lightweight champion was injured, so it would take a little while. So he opted to fight right away, fought Clay Guida, and Clay Guida, using wrestling and ground and pound, actually beat Pettis. This was that exact same thing, but I was not expecting Dos Anjos to go out there and at times almost trade with him, but he just went in there and nullified completely Anthony Pettis' ground game.
Yeah. I feel like Pettis also had established himself as such a dominant force already. I mean, even with the shortcomings that you're mentioning, he still was, I think, was generally considered by a lot of MMA fans to be a case of, the cream sort of finally rising to the top, in spite of it being a very competitive division.
Yes.
So,
he's, without a doubt, he's definitely a very talented fighter.
Arguably one of the most, right?
Yes.
That is an anticipated rematch.
Yes. So, but that's actually not the planned title defense. What is the planned title defense is, I don't know if you heard, but I was going to bring this up earlier.
Still an anticipated rematch.
I was going to bring this up earlier. I'm going to bring it up now because this is very appropriate. Rafael dos Anjos, his first title defense is not going to be a guy who's traditional lightweight. It's going to be the featherweight champion.
Oh, wow.
Conor McGregor.
Yes.
McGregor was talking about this. Dana White was initially saying, no, you have to vacate the title, but he's using the precedent of BJ Penn moving up to challenge GSP when he was still lightweight champion.
I'm going to pause you there, because that's obviously one of the most important things that we need to talk about, and the first thing that we should talk about as soon as you're done. So let's rattle off these last couple of ones and get on with that.
Okay. So then, speaking of Conor McGregor.
Exactly. This is why we should just hurry up.
Number 2 is Conor McGregor's upset of Jose Aldo.
What more can we say regarding that? I mean, we already mentioned it. I mean, what did you think?
Some people were saying that McGregor actually called his fight. I'm still looking back on it. Just still kind of surprised at how.
Did you see the YouTube video that I posted on MMA Freak.com?
I have not.
When you get a chance, there's a video I posted immediately afterwards, and go check it out. Maybe you can check it out right now. But what were you going to say? Yeah, maybe find it right now while you say it. I'll pull it up for you and I'll link it to you. But go ahead and say your point.
I'm still. Honestly, looking back on it, it's still shocking just how quickly a dominant champion the championship reign of Jose Aldo just ended so quick. We didn't even have time to see if there was any ring rust. We didn't have time to see if we didn't have time to see anything because it just ended so quickly, 13 seconds.
I think a half joke that I've been making since that fight was that in so many ways, Jose Aldo is still inactive, has remained inactive. From how many months had he been inactive before this fight?
It had been 14 months.
So then 12 seconds of a non-fight and then continued inactivity. Does that make sense? So I mean, sure, he was training, got ready for the big day, performed for 12 seconds on the big day. I mean, was concussed by a punch. maybe had some of his face broken by those follow-ups. I don't think so. I don't think it was anything serious. I don't think it was a nose break or anything. I don't know. But yeah, definitely still there are so many questions still in the air for Aldo, and so there is in his, and I'd imagine in his own mind, how do you shake off those cobwebs? It's like, darn, I cannot believe that I trained for that much of time. And I don't even remember what happened in there. Let's say,
Yeah,
that was weird. I would argue even more shocking than the Spider knockout than the first Weidman.
Definitely.
In terms of shock value,
that fight went into the second round,
and you start going, what's happening here? Maybe, right? You start thinking, Weidman's kind of closing the distance here. Weidman's kind of pushing forward, right? And it's sort of creeping up. This one was such a
shocking, sudden
my goodness.
end.
Right near the beginning, so it was awesome. It was very cool.
Yes. So okay, and then
hope to see Aldo back and do great.
Yes. Then number one should not be shocking in the least bit. It is Holly Holm's upset of Ronda Rousey at UFC 193, and
aside from what we mentioned earlier about the Rousey hate, let's do some home appreciation.
Yeah, home appreciation. Well, let's give her credit. She's a former world.
She's a world. She has solidified her position as a world-class combat sports athlete.
Yes,
at this point,
she's a former.
She's varied experience. Variety of experience.
Yeah, she's a former boxing champion, multiple divisions. She was an amateur kickboxing champion, and she was also undefeated going up to this fight. And this fight was actually made more sense than the Misha Tate.
This fight made more sense than the Misha Tate fight that people were somewhat disappointed about. Misha Tate included, sort of was very vocal about it. But we wouldn't have had this awesome fight.
Even before we talk about all the other stuff, I think we should roll into what will happen. But of course, let's finish this conversation. I think we'll roll into something.
That's it, pretty much, right?
We'll roll it.
That's all I have to say about Holmes. She's awesome. Well, she deserved more credit than she received for the win. It was an upset. It was the upset of the year. It was
not just an upset. It was a dominant upset from bell to finish.
Like I said, the upset of the year.
Yeah, because she just went in there and
destroyed the champion.
Yes, the undefeated dominant champion,
undisputed dominant champion of the sport.
And like I said, there was a point where you could just tell Ronda.
Perhaps more importantly, the face of the sport.
Definitely the face of the sport. She become the face of the sport basically, and she just, and like I said, as I watched the fight, you could just see as Holly was pouring on those punches, you just saw that normal intense look of confidence and intensity on Ronda's face go to one of worry and realizing, I'm in trouble, what do I do? And I think a big disservice that Edmund Tiktaroff did in her corner was said, you're doing great.
Oh, well,
your face looks like hell.
That's
you are not
armchair
doing
training, but
great.
yes, this is true. So that rounds up our top 10
upsets.
Our top 10 upsets, MMA Freaks top 10 upsets of 2015. Holly Holm defeating Ronda Rousey by knockout at UFC 193 in November.
And as I mentioned, Chris Federer got the Article of the Year award. And I think to a degree that's also like the unofficial that's basically the unofficial Reporter of the Year award for MMA Freaks. So,
great work, Chris.
Definitely.
Now, let me bulldoze us into the Dos Anjos McGregor discussion.
Actually, we'll roll into that. But the thing I want to talk about with Holly Holm, I don't.
Well, then we're not done discussing the list.
Well, this is related. This is not related to that
go
match
ahead.
so much as it's just related to
her.
My understanding is UFC 197 is going to be her next title fight, and it's going to be against Misha Tate.
All right.
So, and
Tate gets her wish in some form, right?
Yeah, and my understanding is this was partially motivated by this other news that Ronda because of the
yes.
Roadhouse, she's filming for the Roadhouse remake right now, and as it turns out, filming got pushed back, so she didn't want to come back and instantly
for a big event, right? For a big event.
Yeah, she didn't want to come back for because of that, but I don't think she's really motivated right now. We obviously no one knows her mental state of mind, but it seems like she was already saying that she wanted to take time away from the sport when she did the Holly Holm match.
Yeah. So
this kind of already gives her an excuse, and incidentally something to genuinely think about is if this is one of those things where she's just going to disappear into Hollywood, similar to how Gina Carano disappeared into Hollywood after her fight with Cyborg, because that was Carano's first legitimate loss, and this is Ronda's first loss. So, and I'd argue
you're drawing the parallels there.
Yes, I'd argue Ronda may be more of a star than Gina. No. There's no comparison. She is more of a star than Gina Carano.
It's fair to say that. I think it's fair to say that she was, maybe is still the face of the sport. So that's a bummer to hear that she's not going to be back for a little while. And I mean, what else you got to say? What else you got to say about either of these two? Before we lead directly into the Dos Anjos and McGregor discussion.
Well, I can also understand why Holly Holm wants to keep active, because originally when they said UFC 200, that's in July. That's almost 7 months away, and I can understand why she'd want to be active. But incidentally, even if they want to plop Holly back onto UFC 200, which I don't know if Dana's going to try and convince her to to put her in the or to plop her in what's it called?
UFC 200.
No, I'm not sure if he wants to move that. If he wants specifically that rematch, but obviously the clearly
we spent a lot of time on Holm and Rousey.
Yeah. So.
So yeah. You got a lot to say. We got a lot to say about them in the fights coming up.
Dos Anjos McGregor. Let's talk about this.
And this was what we just alluded to in the podcast a couple minutes ago. So we teased our audience with this, which was the McGregor Dos Anjos fight. This is a super fight. This is a fight where only for the second time, if I remember correctly, a fighter who holds a title is allowed to move up and try to contend for another UFC title.
Yes, the first time being BJ Penn going up to challenge George St. Pierre.
We were just talking about Rousey, and this is Conor has already stepped in to fill the vacuum for who is the face of the UFC. It's almost like the perfect storm. It couldn't go better, I think, for Dana White.
He was almost like the unofficial prince. Let's just say.
Yeah, the obvious heir apparent.
She was the queen, and he was the prince. Now he's become the king.
Most definitely, he was the obvious heir apparent for this guy's prime to break through. And with that defeat of Aldo, such an explosive win, he's done so. And now he's going to be facing Dos Anjos, Rafael Dos Anjos, a Brazilian star. Ripe for fodder. For sort of a lot of ammunition for Conor's cannon of sort of absurd and mayhem.
Yes, and of note is the fact that we're talking Dos Anjos. We're talking also another. Like I said, when in regards to McGregor and Mendes, that was he had to, that was McGregor's greatest challenge up to date. Dos Anjos is also of a similar grappling caliber. Obviously, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but like I said, he took down Anthony Pettis, and but then on top of that, he recently defended his title against Donald Cerrone and defeated him not by submission, but at Cerrone's own game.
Yeah, definitely.
So
just absolutely
this is something that McGregor needs to seriously consider.
Which, by the way, you're glossing over the fact. So yes, that's absolutely true. That is absolutely true. That it has turned out now. Maybe we see that. Hey, Dos Anjos is a more well-rounded and truly sort of has earned his championship. Is a more well-rounded fighter than we thought that he was. McGregor definitely explosive, but everything you say holds true. On top of this, McGregor is going to be moving up in weight. It's going to be changing his training regimen. It's going to be changing the way that he prepares for the fight, right? His mechanics, the mechanics of his body, for example.
Well, my understanding is he's also not going to have to cut as much weight, because this is my understanding. He walks around in the 170s. So he's having to go from cutting like 30 pounds to not having to cut as much weight, and like more like 20 pounds or something like that. But
the mind body,
which actually that could play into his stamina, but at the same time,
to a degree,
he's facing Dos Anjos, who's probably closer in weight, probably weighs around the same,
and is acclimated to competition at that division much more than McGregor with. And we're not taking into account that maybe McGregor's own sort of connection between his mind and his body, and the speed at which he wants to react to things. That small things like that, you do not one cannot know how moving up in weight or training to fight at that weight division might change his style, because there's going to be a change in his size.
Yes.
Right? So now let's move. I think if you're cool with it,
very brief gloss over the New Year's events.
That's what I was hoping to move into. Let's do it. Sort of Risen and then UFC, and then maybe we could probably wrap it up. I think this week.
We could do a very brief. We could do like the main event preview of Invicta FC.
Oh yes.
Of note, we are actually covering Invicta FC 15 this weekend.
This Saturday
at the OC
Friday and Saturday. Hopefully.
OC Fair and Event Center.
Costa Mesa,
yes.
Invicta, Cyborg, is that correct? No?
Yes, Cyborg is the main event.
Cyborg is the main event. Matt and I will be there. We'll be taking snaps, photos, Instagrams, articles, live tweeting, press rowing, hopefully weighing,
et cetera.
Okay, so before we sort of touch on that, though, before we touch on the main event for that and sort of very quickly go over that, let's go over Risen and UFC, both of which happened over the New Year's.
So,
at Risen.
At Risen. So
in Japan.
So I actually watched. I don't know if you knew about this, but on New Year's Eve in the morning, there was that Breakfast with Fedor broadcast, which is basically a highlight show of the two Risen events.
Okay.
So I got to watch a few of them.
You caught it?
Yes. I went to a friend's house, watched a few of them, and the best way I could sum it up before I go into individual matchups is that this is just classic MMA or classic Japanese freak show matchups at its best.
Typical Japan showmanship,
but it's entertaining.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
One of the major fights that they showed from day one was Shinya Aoki versus Kazushi Sakuraba.
One of the first announced matches of this card.
Yes, and
two Japanese.
Yes, and Aoki was fighting at his walk-around weight of around 170, going up against Sakuraba, who's cutting weight. It was, and of note, similar, they did Pride rules.
Yes, I see that they went beyond the 5-minute first round.
Pride rules, 10-minute first round, stomps, and
How'd it go?
It was actually it was difficult to watch. Sakuraba,
as have his last 17 fights or so. I mean, yeah, what are you gonna say?
Yeah, so it was hard to watch, but
it happened.
You could say the event was called Saraba, which means farewell in Japan.
So let's hope and pray to
it's farewell. Yeah, farewell. Stay retired, Sakuraba. Then there's one fight that I'm actually
another fight of note.
Yeah, another fight of note is
we'll sort of gloss over some of the fights here, right? Because not all of them might connect with American audiences.
Yeah,
really, right?
This what I describe as
a bantamweight.
Yes, a great grapple fest. Hideo Tokoro, who's been in there for a while, going against Kazaemon Saiga, and it was a good grapple fest.
And again, going beyond the 5 minutes of the first round.
Yeah, and Tokoro eventually, who's the more experienced fighter, he eventually got that submission. It was kind of funny because Saiga's wife was ringside, and as Japanese do, they like to show family in their reactions, and they're just showing her like screaming like nobody's business.
This happens in boxing as well.
Yeah,
that's pretty. That sounds entertaining.
That I think that was just more to appeal to the
I was going to say that,
but it was a good fight.
I was going to say not only the Japanese audience, the sophisticated martial arts enthusiasts, right? If you're saying that there was good grappling, that's something that anybody that I think that knows what they're watching would enjoy watching.
Yeah, so that was a good fight, and
other fights to note maybe, or
that's probably for that first event, because it was the 29th and the 31st. That was the first event of note that I think.
But there's a bracket that they're filling out. Is this?
Yeah, that was a bracket over the 2 days, because this was the 2 events. So the first round, it was called a heavyweight tournament, but
and it was 3 days.
Yeah, but these were
sort of open weight.
Yeah, it was open weight. These guys were basically light heavyweights.
And if I read correctly, it was composed of Jiri Prochaska, Satoshi Ishii, Vadim Nemkov, Goran Reljic, Theodoros Axtulis, Bruno Henrique Capoloza,
King Mo.
Or rather King Mo Lawal, and Brett McDermott.
You almost called him Mighty Mo.
I did almost call him Mighty Mo again. Brett McDermott.
And of note, a bunch of these
all
guys,
of which ended by KO. Yeah,
of note, a bunch of these guys are representatives of because Rizin's
is that M1 co-production? Is that correct?
Rizin has actually developed a network of several different promotions, which includes Jungle Fight, Bama. Bellator,
sort of a coalition or group, it's been attempted
Bellator,
before.
K1, and King Mo is the Bellator representative.
Oh, I see some cross-promotion action.
I think Brett McDermott was the Bama representative.
All right, so we're still on the 29th. There was 4 fights for the tournament that day, all 4 KO. The victors were Prochaska, Nemkov, Axtalis, and Lawal. Lawal taking the longest, in fact, to defeat his opponent.
Yes, almost the entire first 10-minute round. So then the next event, which was 2 days later, that was I saw a lot more of these fights, and they were a lot. Like I said, they were entertaining. A lot of them were entertaining.
I mean, it's in the style of Japanese mixed martial arts.
Some of them, though, were some actual good. Where I'd argue were some good actual
MMA fights. Yeah, some fun fights to watch.
So in that first, then the semifinal for that heavyweight tournament. Let's talk about that. The other one that did not involve King Mo, Prochaska versus
Nemkov.
That was a good fight, and both fighters were pretty exhausted, but Nemkov was just more exhausted to the point that the ref just called it after that first round. Because he couldn't get up to his corner.
And they were going to have to fight again.
Yes, he literally could not get up to his corner.
Yeah, I mean, he was exhausted.
He was in the middle of the ring, and he was just tired, whereas Prochaska was actually able to get up. And they did it smart in that these were in the beginning of the night.
Give them at least some time to rest.
These were at the beginning of the night. There were still, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 9
fights between them.
Later is when they had to get up and fight again.
Lawal won his fight by decision.
Yeah, he won
after 15 minutes.
Yeah, because because it was a tournament, they had him just fight the 2 rounds, the 10-minute and the 5-minute, the Prochaska Nemkov fight. If there weren't so many other good fights, that easily could have been a fight of the year or fight of the night.
Incredible.
No, fight of the night.
Yeah. Still good though. Still good.
Yeah. Then Brandon Ward, who's also a Bellator stand-up, he went up against Ken Hasegawa. That was a good fight too. That went pretty. He
got the victory against Hasegawa.
Yeah, they went to the second round, and I think it was a pretty good fight. Ward got to really shine. Hasegawa also showed that he's no slouch.
He hung in there with him.
Those points where I'd argue Hasegawa was actually winning. So
made it close.
Yeah, it was a close fight, so it was good to see. And it was so like I said, it was a good fight.
We'd like to see them both again, right? I mean, more from both of them. Why not?
Then in the more main event women's fight, it's not often you see a women's heavyweight.
Women's heavyweight fight over in Japan.
Yeah, so Gabby Garcia, who's a multiple-time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion.
All right.
She was making her MMA debut against Sene. I think that's
Drawn. It looks
Drawn, but she's known in pro wrestling circles as Lady Tapa.
Lady Top. All right.
And she's Tongan American.
Okay.
And like I said, Lady Tapa, well, since that's the easier pronunciation, is more better known for her time in TNA, where my understanding is she's a big girl. She's at 5'11". That's a tall.
That's what you find. That's what you find in mixed, or rather in professional wrestling, typically, at least over here in the U.S.
Yeah, so she's
China being the sort of forerunner.
Yeah, so
Lunder Blaze, even I think.
So that going up against Gabby Garcia, who, as I said, and my understanding is the Tapa's main athletic experience outside of pro wrestling is football.
So maybe overmatched. Maybe overmatched.
Going up against Gabby Garcia, and that was actually a good fight. The Tapa actually dropped Garcia early in the fight.
Oh,
and Garcia came back and actually dropped the Tapa with a back fist. They were exchanging, and then she threw a back fist.
Got some action there.
And I'm not exactly sure where exactly Garcia can go from here, considering she's
right. I mean, who knows what the state of
she's a big
the
gal.
State of women's MMA heavyweight
she's
is right now, right?
She's a big gal, 238. It's like she's a big gal. Where can she go from here? She dwarfs even Cyborg.
Yeah, definitely bigger.
It's like maybe they could get, if the Japanese pay enough money, maybe they could throw Cyborg in there against her.
It'd be a freak show, definitely. So Sap and Taro, huh?
Sap and Akebono. I actually, this wasn't on the broadcast. I actually watched this online, and it went better than their first outing, where, like I said, Sap basically laid out Akebono like a beached whale.
Ouch.
This time, though,
more competitive.
Yeah, it was more competitive, but a common problem is at some point Sap actually opened up a vein on Akebono's head.
Oh, gushing blood, huh?
I think that's ultimately why they stopped
it.
That's why they stopped the fight.
They gave it to
they ruled it for Sap.
But,
that was an interesting
freak showery.
Yes, an interesting fight. Then another more interesting fight that they showed on the broadcast was Andy Sauer versus Yuichiro Nagashima. Mm-hmm. And the thing that was significant is that Sauer was a kind of lighter K1 guy, and I think I can't remember if this was his MMA debut or if this was one of. Oh yeah, this was his MMA debut. So.
He was able to pull out the victory. Yeah, good way to end the year for him.
Yeah, so they back in the day, back when K1 and Pride were
used to do the co-promotion.
That it wasn't uncommon to have K1
of course,
fighters transition. Then at featherweight, you had this was made for pure the reason for matching it up. This was less about goes back to the Japanese showmanship. Kron Gracie's an established guy. He even though this is his second fight, he still got more fighting experience than he's a member of the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu family, multiple times. Yeah, he
performs, right? He's a professional
and he's
performer.
Going up against Asin Yamamoto, who's the nephew of Kid Yamamoto, who's making his MMA debut.
All right.
To be fair,
a fun Brazil versus Japan match.
To be fair, Yamamoto, even though he was a smaller guy, was able to.
Yeah, he hung in there for 5 minutes.
He hung in there, but ultimately,
Kron got the win. Yeah, overmatched perhaps.
And his dad, Hickson, was
how fun.
there.
How fun.
Yeah,
and that's a cool, like I said, Brazil versus Japan match. They love going up against each other. They've been doing it for years.
And then this was the co-main event to allow, as I said, the Grand Prix tournament semifinalists to rest. It was Fedor's return against Jadeep Singh. And
how can one feel about it?
This was a tune-up match.
Yeah.
They threw Fedor Fish and said, "Have fun." And this is literally it literally went that way.
Yeah.
He went in there and just it
looks like Fedor versus Lawal can happen, and with what the next. He got Emelianenko got the win against Jadip. The submission punches probably overmatched.
I heard. I was watching one of Ted Check's. Shout out to Ted, by the way.
Ted Check.
Yeah. One of his videos, he was talking about how maybe they might be getting Couture in there.
Oh, that'd be fun. Yes, that'd be fun. Let's get him in there. Let's get him in there. Let's get him a check.
It's a long overdue fight, and obviously this would be more significant, say, like 5-6 years ago.
And I think considering that Fedor has relatively stayed active since then, it's going to probably not look good for Couture, I don't think.
Yeah.
And that leads us right into the main event.
Which was Lawal versus
culminating in
Prochaska.
The heavyweight. This is the heavyweight tournament culminating.
And this was...
And you mentioned earlier Prochaska, exhausted.
Yeah, it didn't look it though. It looked like he was still able to
get in there.
He was actually able to get up from some of Lawal's takedowns.
Man,
so
very impressive.
I guess he was recovered enough to actually hang with him. But then
late in the middle of the first round.
I think like Rampage, King Mo has underappreciated striking power.
Understood.
Except clearly he's not getting that.
Technique.
His technique, he hasn't gone and gotten actual boxing training like Rampage has.
Understood.
And not to mention he's a better wrestler compared to Rampage. He wrestled on the world level. He wrestled on the He's
a good wrestler.
Yeah, he's a good wrestler. So he went in there and knocked Prochaska out, and which did go past that
the midpoint, let's say the 5-minute point.
Yeah, that 5-minute mark. But so yeah, it was
that actually seems like a pretty successful event to have gone off over the course of a couple days.
Yeah, it was a good event, and you had good legit MMA fights
mixed in with some novelty fun stuff.
Yeah,
mixed in with some sad stuff. Mixed in with some sad stuff.
It was to me, this is like
You're a kid in a candy store. You're a kid in a candy store.
Yes, I wanted this. This reminded me of how it was. Like I said, I was watching it at a friend's house. It's like right after on New Year's Eve, I finished. I'm finishing my shift, and I'm going right over to my friend's house. I'm watching this. I'm eating breakfast with Fedor, and it was just one of those entertaining things. This is New Year's.
That's good.
That's what I was. Yeah,
it was
a fun fight.
Probably one of the most successful in trying to recapture that Pride style since probably that first or second Dream event. I remember those being maybe okay.
Yeah, there was a point where Dream kind of just lost their mojo, let's just say.
Let me lead us into 195.
Yes.
It's all right.
Okay,
I want to specifically sort of go into, because we're going to probably...
We'll talk about the top guys, and then we'll talk about...
the Invicta event on Saturday.
Very brief Invicta, yeah.
So I want to, if it's cool, Arlovsky and Miocic, and also Condon and Lawler. We'll do those fights. Let me quickly go over, I guess, the main card. Abel Trujillo was able to defeat Tony Sims with a guillotine choke in the first round, 3 minutes and 18 seconds. Featherweight Brian Ortega was able to defeat Diego Brandao, submission triangle choke, and that was in the third round, 1:37. Welterweight Albert Tumanov, he defeated Lawrence Larkin, split decision.
Good fight.
And that leads us into what I want to talk about a little bit, a tiny bit. Stipe Miocic. Miocic. He defeated Andrei Arlovsky TKO punches in the first round. So quick destruction of Arlovsky, I see.
Yes, and this also has put Miocic in. He's getting the next title shot.
Is this official?
Yes, this is official because you remember last month at UFC on Fox, Overeem defeated Dos Santos. Dos Santos was number 2. So that could have set up for arguably a rematch with Verdum.
You don't think they put Miocic against Overeem?
No, I think this one I believe was supposed to have priority.
Oh, okay, I see.
So yeah, because those two had more momentum going in. So because remember Dos Santos and Overeem had more time off. These guys were more active.
I was going to say, do you think that might be something that's mentioned on February 2nd? Probably.
Probably. So yeah, my understanding is Miocic is going to get the title shot against the winner of
the heavyweight championship.
Yes, of Verdun Velasquez.
Speaking of title shots, Robbie Lawler, the champion, the welterweight champion.
This was a very
the UFC welterweight champion.
Very close fight. It went
the
5
second
rounds.
time. I'd say it's the second time Lawler pulls this funny business in a title fight, wouldn't you? Or
yeah,
third
against
was that first fight against? It wasn't. The first fight against Johnny Hendricks was not for a title. Was it?
Yes, it was.
Oh, then
it went Hendricks' way.
Yeah, understood. But it's still the third time that Robbie Lawler
has been involved in funny business decision making.
Well, not necessarily funny business, but an incredibly close championship bout that could be seen, say, going either way from multiple different people, but that there is definitely controversy surrounding.
Yes, I personally, to me, it was about even going into that last round, and I honestly, to gosh, cannot tell you if I was a judge how could I have scored it. I may have scored it a 10-10.
Incredible.
And you could tell how you could tell how exhausted these guys were when they finish and they hang on the cage afterwards. Both guys, they both finished. And instead of putting their hands up, they hung on the cage.
Yeah, I would mention, Condit, this sort of a persistent, perpetual sort of contender. It put on, one of the best performances of his career, fell short. Robbie Lawler pulled out another split decision that not everybody agreed with. Remains the welterweight champion. The way I see it, I think I sort of backhandedly picked Lawler for this fight in my pound for pound posts that I had for my sort of rank, my sort of casual 2015 pound for pound ranking for MMA,
which was pretty good. I was tempted to actually vote for it for one of the articles of the year.
Thank you.
I was tempted.
I'd have appreciated it. I didn't know exactly how people might feel about it. There are yet to be comments on that. If any of you all listening want to hop on there and say anything. So I sort of, like I said, I looked past Condit on behalf of Lawler, and so I cannot wait, and I hope that they put together a Lawler-Hendricks bout soon, wouldn't you say? Is that a fish? No, that's not official. That'll never happen. Well, Hendricks is too far out. He's injured still.
Hendricks has kind of been waffling in and out ever since he lost the title, I think, a fight with. My understanding is Woodley's actually gonna get the next shot. So, which I think, he's definitely been trying to build up to that. I think he deserves that shot. I do believe Hendricks should eventually get that shot.
The title shot. Yes, but who knows right at this point if it would be against Lawler if he's not immediately up there.
Yeah. So, one last thing I'd like to say about UFC 195. One of the performance of the night winners was Michael McDonald. It was good to see him come back because he's been out for almost 2 years. He fought Uriah Faber in 2013. And I think he lost to him, and then he was out because of, I think, a hand injury for a very long time. But it's glad to see him back. He's a local California guy, made a name for himself in Tachi Palace fights. It was good to see him back finally.
Yeah, man, pull out the win.
Yeah, it was good to see him back.
So Matt.
Our weekend.
Yeah.
Invicta FC 15.
Cyborg.
Yes, Cyborg versus Ibra. I can't even remember her name.
This is terrible. So Costa Mesa. We're again, Matt and I.
OC Event Center, the Hangar, as it's also known.
Matt and I are part of the Orange County wing of MMA Freak, and so this will be the first event that we're both able to go to together. Matt's been out to a couple events, and so hopefully we'll be right there.
Yeah, I got to go to what's the
couple other ones, right?
Yes,
in the past.
I got to go to Invicta FC 11, which was at the Shrine Expo Hall in LA. Yeah. I've been to a couple Bellator events, and
we're gonna try to do it all this weekend, right? We're gonna try to catch the weigh-in, get you weigh-in news and footage, right? Get you footage of the event, get there early, take plenty of photos, take plenty of snaps. Sort of have the Twitter set up. Hopefully, have a Snapchat and an Instagram set up so that there are a few different spots where you all will be able to catch some of our stuff. We'll have that stuff on our Facebook as well, and the website, of course.
Yes. So, there's a few different fighters on this fight card, but I guess the main fighter that we're going, I will briefly go over the strawweight fight. Olivia Renata Souza versus Deanna Bennett. The two rising strawweights. Obviously, all the best strawweights are in the UFC right now, but the two rising strawweights, I could argue that Souza could maybe be recruited into the UFC relatively soon. But and
she's the champ. She's the champ.
She's the champ. I think she's defended the title once. She beat Katja Kankampa, who was the champion,
and that was at 12.
And that was in April of last year, and she won the championship. So she is now defending.
She'll be facing off this weekend
against Deanna Bennett, who's also been around.
Undefeated.
Been fighting since 2012, and we'll see how that goes. She actually had beat the former champion in order to earn this title shot. So we will see how that goes. And then, of course, the main event, Cyborg, who's no longer interested in dropping down in weight. There's not really a point. Ronda's may very well be out of the picture. Yeah. And not only that, but Holly Holm has actually said she'd be interested in fighting Cyborg at featherweight.
That means only. Oh, sorry. That is it.
At Cyborg's weight. At 145. She's because
so she wouldn't be scared to do that. She wouldn't leverage it. She'd say, "Hey, you know what? I'm willing to take on that challenge."
Well, not only that, but one of the reasons she put is that when she was boxing, she fought heavier weight classes.
The way she sees it is where this is going to likely be a boxing match anyway, right?
Yeah.
If Holm and Cyborg faced off, that would be a stand-up match for the most part.
It would be a stand-up match.
Oh man!
Even though Cyborg does have a jiu-jitsu black belt, it would more than likely,
unless she gets in trouble, I can't see her shooting. Let's say.
Yeah. So that's because striking's her bread and butter.
Oh, of course, Holmes as well. So that'd be a great one to lead up to,
And then
so she's taking on a Russian this weekend.
Daria Ibragimova.
Yeah, Ibragimova.
Yeah. And
Daria Ibragimova. She's got a sole loss on her record.
Yeah, she's got one loss.
She's fighting out of Russia. The loss was earlier in her career, 2010. So it's been a good long while now.
So and she's fought mostly in Russia.
She actually, this will be her. She's an M1 associate, at least early on in her career, and this will be her first Invicta match.
Her first Invicta match, her first stateside match,
and it's a championship bout. So that's actually kind of neat.
Invicta is definitely committed to getting all the best women in the world, and they've partnered with various organizations in order to accomplish that. So that's going to be so much fun. That's going to be so much fun. I mean, and we here at MMA Freak, we try to sort of, let's say, place a slight emphasis on women's mixed martial arts. Yes.
We're trying to grow the sport in general, and the best way to do that, we think, is by sort of putting a focus on women's mixed martial arts and sort of helping others understand that this is a sport for everybody. This is not just a sport for dudes, sport for everyone.
Yes.
It's a beautiful sport, right? And that's why we do this. And so being able to go to an Invicta show right here in our backyard in Costa Mesa, it's going to be so much fun. We're very excited. We're very excited to share it with you. So hopefully you'll be able to share it with us.
Well, I also got to go at a Bellator event in our backyard down in Irvine.
Thanks, Matt.
Well,
I didn't get to go to that one.
I'm not even sure you were involved in the side. Well, it was April, but you were like just getting involved in the side. I'm not sure.
You didn't take me.
Sorry.
It's going to be fun this Saturday. What do you think?
Yes, it is going to be fun.
Oh, let's do it. So,
and I'm hoping.
What do you think?
I'm hoping that we'll be able to run into,
we will. We'll make it happen.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that we'll be able to run to some people that I've kind of met on the journalism circuit. That yeah, like Amy, who I've mentioned before, and
hit them up, let them all know.
Yeah, well, she already knows that I'm coming in.
Yeah, they'll know we're heading over there.
Yeah, we'll definitely
keep you all posted. Keep the audience posted, right?
We'll keep the audience posted. Yeah.
So what do you have to say, man? I think that podcast was fun. Yes, that was one of the funnest podcasts we had in a while.
It was.
A longer one too.
Yes. So well, that's I think that's it for us here today. And so we'll.
What do you think? Where should they catch us?
Obviously, at MMA Freakout is the Twitter. I'm Matthew, and I'm at Matthew Sulzer is my Twitter handle.
I'm at Edson_V on Twitter.
So
check our Facebook, check the site, MMA-freak.com.
Yes. So thanks for listening. We will see you
next
soon.
week.
Yeah.
Next week we'll see you with updates from the Invicta show.
And we will definitely give you updates on the site. So stay tuned. Also stay tuned for the continuation of the MMA Freak Awards. Those are going to be coming out continually this month. And so
visit the site. Add us on Twitter. Add the site on Twitter.
Yes. Okay. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good one, everyone.